Team building has to be one of the most common questions I've seen floating around. Who works with this character? Who works with that character? Can I run this team? Is this team comp good? So I'm going to give you a quick and easy rundown of team building basics so that you can, at a glance, look at a character and determine if they are a good fit for the team you want to run. To start, let's identify the team roles. Wuthering Waves will have you field a team of 3 characters, and these 3 characters will fulfill 3 different roles. Those roles being primary DPS, secondary DPS, and support. The primary DPS will be the character to spend the most time on the field. For the meta folks, this will be your maximizing damage character. For the casual enjoyer, this will be the character you want to play the most, even if they are not the strongest character present. The secondary DPS or sub DPS is the character you'll switch to in order to build Concerto and Liberation energy for the benefit of your main DPS. You'll be switching between these 2 characters the most as your primary source of damage, so ideally you'd want both characters to benefit each other. The support is a character who comes in to heal or provide buffs before the main DPS skill rotation. Most people will likely run one of 2 healers in this position, or any future healers that get released. Now, the main trait you need to look out for in terms of a character's team synergy is their outro skill. The only exceptions are Mortefi, Verena, and Baiji, who all provide buffs to the team with their Resonance Liberation, aka their ultimate. Everyone else will provide a buff with their outro skill. A character's outro skill can be one of 3 categories: an elemental buff, a damage buff, or a damage nuke. The elemental buff buffs that corresponding element. These synergies are restricted to characters who share the same element. An example would be Dan Jin increases havoc damage by 30%, so Tao Chi, the other havoc character, would receive a boost from Dan Jin, while every other character would not. The damage buff is a buff to a specific damage type, regardless of elemental typing. These generalist characters have more flexibility and are able to benefit any character they pair with. An example would be Tao Chi, who boosts resonance skill damage by 38%. No matter which DPS you swap to, they will benefit so long as they have a damage-based skill. And then lastly, the nuking type is a pure damage attack where a character will follow up alongside the player, dealing damage based on their own element and stats. An example would be Ji Yan, who will strike every heavy attack up to 2 times for 8 seconds, dealing arrow damage. So to put together a synergetic team, first decide on your favorite character or your primary DPS and build around them. Let's take my beloved Yang Yang as an example and build a team around her. Now, she would typically fulfill the secondary DPS role, but because she is my absolute queen, I'm going to give her the center stage as a main DPS and try and make her the best she can be. So I'll need a secondary and a support to fill out my team. For my secondary DPS, if I'm looking for arrow damage, my only option is going to be Alto. Or I can opt for any of the general buffers or nukers for more flexibility. I really do like Tao Chi, so I'll choose her as my secondary DPS. And because both Yang Yang and Tao Chi have general outro skills, they're able to buff each other and have synergy. The last spot will be reserved for Baiji or Verena, just because they're the only 2 pure supporters available. And because I like Baiji more, I'm going to go with her. Now just rinse and repeat with your chosen character. Who do you want as your main DPS? What characters provide a shared elemental buff on their outro skill to support that DPS? If there is none, then what damage type does your main DPS do the most, heavy attack, skill, or ultimate, and find a character that buffs that damage type in their outro. Or you can just go for any of the elemental nukers. And lastly, do you have Verena? If not, use Baiji. And there you go, you have a functional and synergetic team to carry you through the game. Now, these are only basic guidelines. As you familiarize yourself with the character's skills and traits, you'll be able to experiment around with different team compositions that work for you. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. I plan to cover more WoWalk content in the future, including streaming the game's launch. You can find my Twitch in the description below. Let me know which team you want to build. Who are you excited for? I'll be putting out another video in the near future going over different team compositions you can use for every character, regardless of how good or bad they may be. So keep an eye out for that, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching.